Blue Umbrella by Ruskin Bond. Binya's Blue Umbrella by Ruskin Bond. Binya adores her blue umbrella very much, but one day a strong gust of wind blows it away, off the edge of a cliff. Read the story to find out what Binya does to get her umbrella back.
Binya seldom closed the blue umbrella. Even when she had it in the house, she left it lying open in a corner of the room. Sometimes Biju snapped it shut, complaining that it got in the way. She would open it again a little later. It wasn't beautiful when it was closed. Whenever Binya went out, she took the umbrella with her. That patch of sky blue silk could always be seen on the hillside. Old Ram Barossa, Ram the Trustworthy, kept the tea shop on the Tehri road. Once a day, the Tehri bus stopped near his shop, and passengers got down to sip hot tea or drink a glass of curd. He also kept sweets and toffees. Ram Barossa was astonished to see Binya's blue umbrella.
"What have you there, Binya?"
he asked.
"That's a lady's umbrella,"
said Ram Barossa.
"That's only for Mem Sahibs. Where did you get it?"
"Someone gave it to me, for my necklace."
"You exchanged it for your lucky claw?"
Binya nodded.
"But what do you need it for? The sun isn't hot enough, and it isn't meant for the rain. It's just a pretty thing for rich ladies to play with."
Binya nodded and smiled again. Ram Barossa was quite right. It was just a beautiful plaything, and that was exactly why she had fallen in love with it.
"Why not? I have an idea,"
said the shopkeeper.
"It's no use to you, that umbrella. Why not sell it to me? I'll give you 5 rupees for it."
"It's worth 15,
said Binya.
"Well then, I'll give you 10.
Binya laughed and shook her head.
12 rupees?
Said Ram Barossa, but without much hope. Binya placed a 5 paise coin on the counter.
I came for a toffee,"
she said. Ram Barossa gave Binya a wry look and placed a toffee in the palm of her hand. He watched Binya as she walked away along the dusty road. The blue umbrella held him fascinated, and he stared after it until it was out of sight. Binya sat down in the shade of a pine tree. The umbrella, still open, lay beside her. She cradled her head in her arms, and presently she dozed off. And while she slept, a wind sprang up. It fanned Binya's cheeks. The umbrella stirred on the grass. The wind grew stronger. It got into the umbrella and began to drag it over the grass. Suddenly, it lifted the umbrella and carried it about 6 feet from the sleeping girl. The sound woke Binya. But she was on her feet immediately, and then she was leaping down the steep slope. But just as she was within reach of the umbrella, the wind picked it up again and carried it further downhill. Binya set off in pursuit. The hill grew steeper. Binya knew that after 20 yards it would fall off the cliff. She ran faster. The blue umbrella stayed up with the wind. A fresh gust picked it up and carried it to the very edge of the cliff. There it balanced for a few seconds before toppling over, out of sight. Binya ran to the edge of the cliff. Going down on her hands and knees, she peered down the cliff face. About 100 feet below, a small stream rushed between great boulders. Hardly anything grew on the cliff face, just a few stunted bushes, and halfway down, a wild cherry tree growing crookedly out of the rocks and hanging across the chasm. The umbrella had stuck in the cherry tree. Binya didn't hesitate. She stuck her bare leg over the edge of the cliff and began climbing down. She kept her face to the hillside, feeling her way with her feet, only changing her handhold when she knew her feet were secure. Loose stones rattled down the cliff. Once on their way, the stones did not stop until they reached the bottom of the hill, and they took other stones with them. Binya had to be very careful not to start a landslide. As agile as a mountain goat, she did not take more than 5 minutes to reach the cherry tree. But the most difficult task remained. She had to crawl along the trunk of the tree. Only by doing this could she reach the trapped umbrella. Binya felt the blue umbrella stayed up with the wind. A fresh and carried it when climbing trees, gripping the rough cherry bark with her toes and using her knees, she crawled along the trunk of the tree until she was almost within reach of the umbrella. She noticed with dismay that the blue cloth was torn in a couple of places. Looking down, she felt quite dizzy. Her hands shook, and the tree shook too. If she slipped now, there was only one direction in which she could fall. Down, down, into the depths of that dark and shadowy ravine. There was only one thing to do. Concentrate on the patch of blue just a couple of feet away from her. She did not look down or up, but straight ahead, and willing herself forward, she managed to reach the umbrella. She could not crawl back with it in her hands. So, after removing it from the branch in which it had stuck, she let it fall, still open, into the ravine below. There was only one thing to do. Concentrate on the patch of blue just a couple of feet away from her. She did not look down or up, but straight ahead, and willing herself forward, she managed to reach the umbrella. She could not crawl back with it in her hands. So, after removing it from the branch in which it had stuck, she let it fall, still open, into the ravine below. Cushioned by the wind, the umbrella floated serenely downwards, landing in a thicket of nettles. Binya crawled back along the trunk of the cherry tree. 20 minutes later, she emerged from the nettle clump, her precious umbrella held aloft. She had nettle stings all over her legs, but she was hardly aware of the smarting. She was as immune to nettles as Binya was to bees.